It's Charter California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Glad you're with us today. We are joined by Judy Chu. She is a member of the United States Congress, and I want to speak with you about the San Gabriel Mountains and watershed. They are just majestic. They are beautiful. You come down off of, I think it's Grand Avenue in Glendora, for example, you feel like you're looking at a painting.
Yes.
I mean, it's God's country.
It is so beautiful. I think it's a jewel, and it's the one area of open space for the 3 million people of Los Angeles County.
Right.
That's why they come and visit it. It is so beautiful, and then it feeds into these fabulous rivers that come down to San Gabriel.
Right, and there's some discussion about creating a national recreation area in that region. What does that mean exactly, Congresswoman?
Well, the reason for this is that the area is totally neglected.
Really?
There are very, very few resources, and some very basic things are neglected. For instance, just sanitary conditions. There are not enough trash spaces, but also there's not enough signage. There are not enough trails.
Is it county land, state land, federal land?
It's national federal land, but it's managed by the Forest Service.
I see.
And what we are attempting to do is to have it be part of the National Park Service. That's what the National Recreation Area would give us, the ability for the National Park Service to get in there and actually manage it for recreation.
There are some concerns that if there's all of a sudden a new designation, that somehow that will impinge on property rights. Talk to me about that concern.
I am so glad you asked that question, because this is the major thing that I want to clear up. The National Recreation Area would not impinge on anybody's private property rights. Anybody that has a business or a house can continue to build and live in there and expand as they always have. The water agencies that have water rights, nothing will change there. In terms of LA County Public Services or LA County Fire Services, they can operate as they always have.
So why is it that the Park Service seems to be more equipped to maintain this area than the Forest Service? Is it a funding issue? Is it an issue of competence? I don't want to criticize our friends at the Forest Service, but what's the distinction?
The Forest Service has as its main mandate to fight fires. Recreation is way down on the list. It's a very, very minor part of what they do. As a result, they don't get any funding for it. The Park Service has recreation as its mandate, and so it has a designation for each area. Right now, if money goes to the Forest Service, it goes to this ubiquitous budget. But if there is a national recreation area, we would actually have a budget item set up for our area.
So where do we stand now? Are we in the study phase, or are we beyond that?
Well, we are now at the end of a 10-year process in which this whole question was studied. This all started with then Congressmember Hilda Solis.
Right, it predates you.
It took 10 years for the study to come about, but it did come about, and now we are in the legislative phase. So I am doing all kinds of meetings, stakeholder meetings, and a town hall in order to get people's input before I write the bill.
And I presume, given the large swath of this area, that other members also represent portions of what would be the National Recreation Area, correct?
Yes.
So are they on board with you?
They are very supportive and positive, and yes, we have a lot of support from the different cities and from the LA County Board of Supervisors.
And what about your friends on the Republican side of the aisle? Because currently Congress is majority Republican, so you would need their support. Have they spoken on this issue?
They have not spoken yet, but we are getting our act together. We are getting all the testimony and all the support from the different agencies and residents that are affected by this, and then we will present it.
Is it a funding question? Could that be a roadblock?
Well, actually, when the Santa Monica National Recreation Area started, they had zero in their budget.
Oh my, okay.
So the main thing is that we want to have a placeholder in the budget.
At least the designation.
When they started, they got 1 ranger. Now they have 200 employees and numerous projects that have improved the Santa Monica Mountains.
Senator Feinstein, Senator Boxer, is it time for them to get involved, or is it really we'll start at the House and then proceed from the Senate?
Well, I do have very good news there, which is that they are already supportive of this idea.
So that's terrific. Well, good luck. We're hopeful that it will move forward. It sounds like a beautiful project. I want to shift gears, if I may, and talk about something entirely different, and that's the National Security Administration. They have been in the news all summer over the question of whether it's appropriate for them to track all of our phone calls. I know that you have been critical of the NSA. What can you tell us about, how did you come to the conclusion that you thought the NSA had stepped over the line?
I am a member of the House Judiciary Committee, and we had hearings on this exact subject. And I listened to the testimony of the NSA to see how they arrived at this idea that it was okay to have in their database the phone numbers of every single person that every single American has called.
Let me ask you, though, just for argument's sake, as we understand it, and we don't know everything, they were not listening to phone calls.
No.
They were tracking patterns.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if that's the extent of it, does that cause you pause? Because there are folks both left, right, and center who, upon reflection, will say, if they're just looking at patterns, it doesn't seem as if they've stepped over the constitutional line.
But what gave them that ability to do that without the knowledge of the public?
Was it the FISA court?
That's right. And what is even more disturbing is what I found out about the FISA court. Now, what the NSA was saying was that they get approval from the FISA court. Well, then all of us say, what is the FISA court? Well, it's the Federal Intelligence Surveillance Court, and it more or less operates in secrecy. This is what was also disturbing to me when I found it out, that they are appointed mainly by one person, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and they operate in secrecy. When they argue for the release of certain information, they don't have any opposing attorney.
It's like a grand jury almost.
Exactly.
It's just one side.
Just one side.
So, but let's backtrack. So it was almost going to be, though, there had been an amendment to a bill that the NSA's purview was going to be curtailed.
That's right.
It was close, and there was support from Democrats and Republicans on this issue. It didn't pass in the end. But again, if the NSA cannot track telephonic patterns, what tool do they have to try to figure out what's happening vis-a-vis the telephone?
All we said in that amendment, which I voted for, by the way, was that there should be relevance to whatever they track.
But how do they know it's relevant?
Well, they were saying in our hearing, well, this phone number was repeatedly called, and it led to some phone call in the Middle East. Well, why not go to the FISA court and ask for them to continue tracking along those lines? That's relevant.
So your concern is that once they see a pattern, if they want to go further, they should go to the FISA court.
Exactly.
And as you understand it, that's not happening.
No. It's an open-ended thing right now.
So can Congress pass legislation that would require them to at least take that extra step? Or is it an executive branch question? Is it a judicial branch question? It's complicated.
Well, that's what we had in the amendment, that there should be the relevance. However, after that close vote took place, the Obama administration said that at least the structure of the FISA court should change.
Right. So where do we stand now? Obviously, the attention's focused on a lot of different things. We moved on. Crisis in the Middle East. Arab Spring is turning into a dreary fall. Where are we on this question?
I think there will be changes such as that on having a more open FISA court on the question of the warrant. Well, we will still keep on pushing because I think that should be there, and that we shouldn't be taking this provision of the Patriot Act to its extreme, which is basically saying that everything is relevant.
Okay, her name is Judy Chu. She is a member of the United States Congress representing significant portions of the beautiful San Gabriel Valley. My name is Brad Pomerance. It's Charter California Edition.
In what year was the National Security Agency created? 1940, 1948, 1952, or 1956. Established on November 4th, 1952, the National Security Agency celebrated 60 years of service to the nation in 2012.
It's Starter California edition. I'm Brad Pomerance, and we are joined by Scott Svonkin. He is the vice president of the Los Angeles Community College District. He is also now the president of the Los Angeles County School Trustees Association. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very important roles. But I want to go back to the LACCD and talk about a regulation, I guess, that was passed recently. You headed it up. It's become very controversial. It's gone nationwide, and it deals with having guns on campus.
Yes, I led the effort to ban guns on our campus.
That's the 9 LACCD campuses? Correct.
Every Los Angeles Community College now has a policy where we will do no gun education on our campuses.
Okay. One could argue that seems a bit counterproductive because gun education presumably is trying to perpetuate gun safety.
Well, unfortunately, there's too many guns in society, and I didn't think, nor did my colleagues believe, that the community colleges was the place for gun education, especially considering the program we had, the classes, were community service classes, so they're non-credit, so It's not our core mission. They also, were promoting gun ownership, and with recent tragedies in Connecticut, in Colorado, in Santa Monica.
Yeah, was this precipitated by the Santa Monica College incident, which didn't start on the campus?
Correct. It encouraged me to go further, but there was a small neighborhood council actually that contacted me and let me know that they found out we were teaching these gun classes on our campus at Pierce College in the San Fernando Valley. And it concerned me because anytime guns are on a campus, it can cause panic, it can cause people to be scared. And look, the San Fernando Valley and Pierce College is a beautiful area.
Right.
We don't need to be promoting it to be the Wild Wild West.
So I wonder though, is there a First Amendment question that you are selecting speech to exclude, that being gun education?
Well, we have not banned gun education, we've banned guns. The answer is that I don't believe so, but I'm not a lawyer.
Okay.
And I'm sure we'll be hearing from the NRA.
Right. Well, in some ways, you already are. You've been on websites with a metaphoric target on your back. How does that make you feel?
Well, I think it means that I'm doing the right thing, because when critics attack you for doing something, and something as simple as banning guns on our college campus, I think that shows that I'm doing the right thing.
And it's interesting, I have seen some of the mail you've received, some of it praising you, some of it just lambasting you as an unconstitutional, dastardly deed.
Yeah.
What's your sense of that?
Well, unfortunately, the nasty emails outweigh the positive ones about banning guns, 5 to 1. For every one email I get saying I did the right thing, the colleges are safer today, there are people that said that I should be ashamed of myself that I'm not supporting the Constitution.
What was the vote on it?
It was 7-0.
Okay, so at some level that does say something about...
Every one of my colleagues agreed that banning guns on our campus was the right thing to do. And I have to tell you, with the increase in gun violence in our communities, I believe community colleges should be gun-free. And people can go get a gun education. They can go through their local police department, their local sheriff's department. And I have to tell you, I'm very proud that the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department keeps every one of our campuses safe. And by the way, the gun ban was one thing in a series of things we'd done at the community colleges. Last month, we had a meeting where we talked about how do we make our campuses safer? How do we improve communications with students, faculty, and staff in an emergency? So the gun ban is only one piece of what we're doing to keep our campuses safe.
Is it symbolic, though? I mean, was there a problem? Is this a solution seeking a problem?
No, I think the fact that there was a class on our campuses that was supported by the NRA, that was sanctioned by the NRA, and now there will be no classes on our campuses promoting gun ownership.
By someone other than the NRA? The NRA, those are, to some, those are fighting words to others. It's an organization right behind, your local church.
Well, I have to tell you the fact that they won't support comprehensive gun control, complete background checks, those kinds of things that most Californians believe, most people in the nation believe is the right thing to do. We don't need more assault weapons and more guns in our classrooms. We need our campuses to be free of guns. And I think whether it's the NRA teaching those classes or someone else, I think guns don't belong on community college classrooms. We're about educating people to create their opportunity for their future, not teaching people how to use guns.
Okay, I want to shift gears and talk about education.
Okay.
At the community college level, school year started.
Right.
It's the first year in maybe 5 years where we haven't seen draconian cuts as a result of a tremendous recession. Prop 30 passed,
right,
and the economy appears to be getting better. How has the year started? Are you feeling the benefit of Prop 30 and an improving economy?
Absolutely. We, at every one of our Los Angeles Community College campuses, have 3 to 5% more classes. So there'll be thousands of seats for people that want their education. If they want to come back to school, if they're going to school, it'll be easier to get through our campuses. So Prop 30 and the voters of California should be thanked. Everybody that supported Prop 30 will now see the benefits of passing it.
Which are tangible.
Yes.
The flip side, though, is, and I think we discussed this in the past, there's no doubt that to Governor Brown, the most important budget item is K-12 education.
Yes.
And as I understand it, in the recent budget, K-12 was fully restored,
right,
to pre-recession levels. Community colleges, no.
Right.
UC, no. CSU, no. More money than last year.
Right.
Why is it that K-12 gets all the preferences and community colleges, CSU and UC, they have to wait in line?
Well, I think that historically, if you look at statistics and studies, the more you invest in helping people get off to the right start, the better they do in high school and college. So we really do need to invest in early childhood education. The more people get their education and do well early, the more successful they are when they come to us.
But couldn't one argue that at least the community colleges, I mean, those, for many, not all, those are second chance institutions. And we really need to help these folks be successful in community colleges so they can matriculate to a 4-year.
Right.
But we're not doing that.
Well, I think it's beginning, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said it's beginning to turn around. I'm going to do everything I can as vice president of the district and president of the LA County School Trustees Association.
Which that seems to be, well, although that organization represents both K-12 and community college.
It does, but the one thing that education leaders understand is that you have to invest early, but you have to continue to invest in second chances. And community colleges are the great equalizer in California. It's the most affordable, most effective place to go if you want a second chance. If you want to go on to university, it's easier to go to a community college. It's easier to get in. It's easier to be successful. If you want a new job, a new career, community colleges. Los Angeles community colleges, our 9 campuses have programs to teach people how to be electricians and chefs.
Is career tech receiving the love that it had received in the past?
No, but in Los Angeles, in our district, we're investing more in communications classes for people that want to go into designing your websites, designing things that people need, jobs and careers. Our focus is to work both with the state of California and the federal government to invest in things that help people get jobs.
I would be remiss if I did not ask you about your friends at San Francisco City College, which I understand educates the most community college students in the country.
It's the single largest campus.
And as we speak today, they have been ordered to shut down next summer.
Yeah, I think they recently will have received a reprieve because they're in a fight.
They sued.
Yes, and there was a ruling by the Department of Education that the process may not have been appropriate or fair.
But there's no question there's a problem.
It's true that San Francisco, every community college can and should do better in focusing on student success.
Right, but these campuses are, I'm sure you read the report from the accrediting committee. It is damning, to say the least.
Yeah, I think the one thing people need to remember about accreditation as a whole, and I've worked with accreditation from when I was a student leader at Pasadena City College until now, accreditation is about continual improvement. And it's not about gotcha.
Of Pasadena City College, when we come back, we'll be speaking with the president of Pasadena City College. He's Mark Rocha. I'm Brad Pomerance. It's California Edition.
What percentage of community college students in the United States is attending a community college in California? 10%, 15%, 20%, or 25%? 1/4 of all community college students nationwide are enrolled in a California community college.
Welcome back to Charter California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. Our guest, Mark Rocha, he is the president of Pasadena City College. And sir, if we were speaking 1 year ago today, my guess is the malaise would be felt quite remarkably. Prop 30 looked like it was on the verge of defeat. The funding crisis in Sacramento looked like it was going to march forward unabated. But yet, what a difference a year makes.
Oh, a year makes such a difference. Well, when you interviewed me last week, you saw the worry beads coming out on my forehead.
Right, the veins were popping out.
But you know, the voters, the citizens of the state of California and in the Pasadena Community College District came to our rescue, because they were not going to stand by and watch community colleges go down. So,
and what's interesting about that is, in the end, Prop 30 passed pretty handily, over 55% of the vote, which some would call a landslide. I mean, this was not close in the end.
Going away. And the benefit has been immediate. The benefit to students at Pasadena City College and to the people in the community has been immediate. We are offering more classes this year than in any year we've ever had.
Really?
Our enrollment is up by over 3,000 students over this time last year.
You could bounce back that quickly.
Well, we have. Fortunately, our finances were stable, but because the state has promised, the great thing about Prop 30 is not just the money, but the stability over 6 years.
I see, right.
So now we can plan, and so we put the money where it was most needed, and that's classes for students.
I do want to ask you, though, about the priorities of the state. I've said this before. There's no doubt that Governor Brown is most concerned about the K-12 system, which makes sense, arguably. But in this recent budget, even in the wake of Prop 30, what we saw is K-12 was essentially restored to pre-recession levels in terms of funding. The community colleges were not, nor was the CSU system, nor was the UC system. And so I want to get a sense from you whether you think that was appropriate.
Well,
I know it's hard to speak out against your governor.
I don't know whether appropriate or not, but we're always, we do think that at PCC, we certainly feel that if you put $1 into PCC or any community college, as Jack Scott, our chancellor, used to say, you get $10 back.
Right.
So funding community colleges is not just good morally and good for access, it's good for the economy.
Which I understand, but why is it that K-12 is the favored child? And should it be the favored child? I mean, look, one could argue without K-12, no one's going to wind up succeeding in community college. But still, the cuts to community colleges were so severe over the last 5 years, as they were for K-12.
Right.
So could one not say, let's rise all boats and let's restore everyone? Or let's not restore anyone and let everyone come back at the same pace?
Well, without arguing against our friends in K-12, I guarantee you we have a seat at the table in Sacramento.
Fair enough.
And we are arguing for our fair share of Prop 98, because Prop 98 puts all the funding.
K-14?
Okay. So, but I'm confident that we'll get our fair share, and that the state will not only pay the deferrals back, but that our funding will increase over the next few years. And I suppose the other thing that I would tell our friends and citizens, your viewers, is that the budget cuts were not pretty, but we got better over the last 4 years. We learned how to run our business better. So we have new technology in, we're leaner and meaner, we're offering more services on a lower expense base. Our faculty have always been I think the greatest faculty in the world.
Well, PCC is known for being one of the stronger community colleges in the region, if not the state.
And we're working hard to make up whatever gaps there are by going out to the community, the business community, and developing partnerships and sponsorships and asking for private donations, which we've been pretty successful.
And you mentioned donations. There's no question that alumni of four-year institutions are well trained to donate to their alma mater. Not so much for two-year institutions. I remember reading, I think in the last couple of years, Bakersfield College received a $14 million gift, which was seen as groundbreaking. I know the PCC is starting to look towards more alumni giving, more foundation giving. How's that going?
It's going well. Our big headline news is that just this week we opened our Center for the Arts. Just beautiful building. It's just an awesome building. And our foundation, our Pasadena City College Foundation, which is our volunteer organization to support the college with private donations, raised $3.5 million to help outfit the Center for the Arts at the state of the art.
That's significant because, as I understand, giving for PCC in 2011 alone was simply $2 million.
Yeah,
so
we've
the fact you
it.
were able to get 3.5 just for that one project says a lot.
And I think when, because the good people in our foundation and they see what we've done with the Center for the Arts, when you come to PCC and you see what we've done, more and more alums are saying, hey, it's time for me to give back.
I want to ask you about what's known as Common Core.
Sure.
Common Core has nothing to do with the community college system, so forgive me. But it is a change in the way K-12 students in California will be educated. K-12 students had been educated in such a way where there was a lot of memorization, a lot of focus on performing for a test, which isn't necessarily bad. I'm not an educator, so it's hard for me to say. But what I do know is that Common Core is changing that. And that more project-based learning, there'll be more focus on digging deeper into fewer topics as opposed to staying on the surface for many topics. We've heard a lot about this, but I haven't heard a lot about the higher education systems adjusting for that, be it the SAT, ACT, community colleges, UC, CSU. Is that something that folks are starting to think about as Common Core graduates are starting to enter the higher education system?
That is a great question. And the answer is we're going to have to make our adjustments. Common Core has happened. And I was just meeting last week with the superintendent of Pasadena Unified School District. And we have a very close relationship. That's right. You know John. And John and I made a commitment to work together to articulate, because what the students coming out of PUSD are good students.
It's a fine district.
But we have to make sure that their assessments, how they assess students and how we assess students align. So that students are able to get right to their college courses more quickly.
But on top of that, look, I went to college eons ago. The notion of project-based learning at college was not common. I mean, there were some classes that were intended for that. Community colleges, look, they're known for large classrooms, lecture style. That's not what students are going to be getting, in any way, shape, or form. They're going to be really focused on learning through technology, their tests. I mean, I was talking to a superintendent recently, and he was explaining that for a lot of these tests that are going to be given through Common Core standards, if you answer question 1 correct, you'll get a harder question. For question 2, if you answer it incorrect, you'll get a less challenging question. Wow. Wow. Well, are colleges ready to adopt a formula like that?
Well, no. But, my best explanation of what we call project-based learning, or the way that learning is going in colleges today, is our what we call our design technology program. And so we have an emphasis on students trying to get degrees in science, technology, engineering, math. That's the big push. Okay, well, how do you do that? Well, you can teach a student about engineering from a textbook, the classic way, or you can take a group of students into a lab and design, for example, a Formula car, or design a Tournament of Roses parade float.
Which you can do at PCC.
And so it's a design-based, project-based course. You still have to bring in the math and all of the other skills that you need in order to design, but it's for practical applications. So more and more we're doing that because I think this is really what is...
seems to be the future.
It is the future.
Okay. His name is Mark Rocha. He's the president of Pasadena City College. I'm Brad Pomerance. You're watching Charter California Edition.